How about now? Can you see me now? How about now? Anybody? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we see you. There's a glare.
Awesome. Have fun.
Thanks, Dave.
We'd kiss you too.
If I had a mic drop,
Ooh, there's some like fun light things happen. Ooh, look at that! Ah! Oh, we're gonna have some fun tonight, everybody! Yay! I kind of like that light. Are you into that at all? Do you see all the rainbows? I'm in my office. So, hi everybody and welcome to...
Can we put a blind down so
Oh, I
people
don't
can
want
see?
to.
I know, but you look like.
No, let it be. It'll
You're
change.
okay?
I can move it around.
Okay.
They're gonna tolerate ambiguity, darn it. That's better, right? Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys. So you are in my office. And it took us a minute, but one of my students who took Pillars of Priestessing 4 years ago, 'cause it's actually 4.5 years ago, like, you know, as time passes, right? Said, you know, you did Pillars of Priestessing in your office. And I don't know if you're planning to do it out there in the classroom, but I would really like to have you back in your office again. Same office, 4.5 years later. At some point, I will switch offices while we are in progress. So there'll be a time where it's not in this office anymore. So I think it's kind of fun. This is my second office with Sage Goddess. There's a mirror behind me. My altar, which has been growing for the last 5.5 years, is behind me. So I know. Welcome. I'm so excited. We have so much work to do tonight. I just want to tell you, you know how I am about organization. I try to keep everything really organized, especially when we've got as many moving parts as we have tonight, because we really do. There's a lot going on. I want to welcome you. I'm so happy that you're here. In preparing for tonight, I did a lot of different things. Among those things, I went back through all of my priestess training notes from when I was 17, 18 years old, which I'm going to be 47 in August, right? So I went back through my notes from 30 years ago when I was an initiate, right, in a high priestess training program. Then I went back and watched all the old Pillars of Priestessing from 4 years ago. And wow, you know, I mean, it was amazing content. I still think it's really good teaching. I think it's still relevant. I don't know who that person is. I love her. I appreciate her. I was watching it going, girl, because now I was watching her from 4 years ahead, right? Looking back on her and thinking, well, she didn't know this was going to happen, and she didn't know that was going to happen, and she hadn't had that training yet, and she hadn't done this. So anyway, I'm really excited to be here with you because it's the same, and yet nothing's the same about it. I've switched the pillars up this year. Some of them are brand new. Some of them are reordered. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. I know I'm me now. Like, this is the me of today, right? One thing I want to tell you is this. So the first real magical book that I devoured is called Spiral Dance by Starhawk. Some of you may have it on your bookshelf. I have both my original version and I have the 20th anniversary edition that came out. Why am I telling you about a book by Starhawk? Not to get you to read the book, doesn't matter. I'm telling you that it was a very formative book in my development because, you know, back in the day, there weren't a lot of books on what we do, right? And Starhawk at the 20th anniversary, look at that light. I want to play with that light. Starhawk at the 20th anniversary went back through her own book and added her notes. This is still true. This is still kind of true, but I've changed. I still think this, but I would also add this. That's kind of what's happening with Pillars of Priestessing. It's all still good. It's all still relevant. It's all still accurate. But then there's frosting on that cake that I couldn't have given you then. And so my hope for tonight, right, is that you're going to be nourished and fed, that you're going to find this to be very, very deep, but also accessible. My goal with the entire program this year is to take you way down further than we went last year, okay? Because you're ready to go a little bit deeper. If you're new, then you showed up at the right time and you're ready for what's happening now, right? But still to make it easy, accessible, no stress. I don't want you to worry about where you are, what you've got, what you know. Am I ready for this? I want you to feel so comfortable, really, so welcomed and so held, because the reality is this work should never feel off-putting to you. If it does, in my opinion, something is really wrong. I was going to get all dressed up in like a fancy dress and stuff tonight, and I didn't because priestessing to me isn't something that you do on special occasions. It isn't something that you do just at the high holidays. I live my life as a priestess. And I'm a priestess to my children. I'm a priestess to my partner. I'm a priestess to you. I'm a priestess in my community. I'm a priestess to a global audience. I'm a priestess to my staff. And that doesn't just look like when it's a special occasion or a high holiday or I've got the right clothes on. It's every single day of my life, and it is both a blessing and a responsibility. People in my life have come to see me this way, which what a blessing that is, and what a blessing it is for you and will be continue to be for you, right? But here's the other side of it. It's a responsibility. I don't get to go through my life and just say whatever I want, behave however I want, do whatever I want. I'm held to a higher standard. That's always been my mantra, held to a higher standard, bathed in a different light. And so what I want to reinforce to you, right, is a priestess is not a woman. You do not have to be biologically female. And I said this in the introductory class that I recorded for you too, but a priestess is not a woman. It's an energy stream. It's an elevated perspective. And I don't mean like above people. I just mean it's a macro perspective. You're able to see not just the little bits and pieces, not just the micro problems, the small things, but you're able to lift up and see the entire choreography, right? Which helps you keep a higher perspective. And so it doesn't matter whether you're male, female, however you identify in terms of sex or gender, any of that. Everyone can be a priestess if they want to step into this role. The other thing I will tell you is being a priestess is not glamorous. I am here completely at your service. That's the other challenging part of being a priestess. And it means that sometimes you don't get treated very well. Sometimes it means that people see you as beneath them because you're not coming out ego first. So sometimes people will set you aside or they will minimize you. A priestess has no concern for that because she's not concerned about, well, do people know who I am? Do they know what it's like none of that. I am here at your service. In whatever way you need me, right? And if you think about what the tarot card of the high priestess represents, she's sitting between those pillars of black, white, right, wrong, this, that. She's in between all of that. And so tonight, what I really want to reinforce to you, and I have pages and pages and pages of notes, so let's just do the best we can because I don't want to overwhelm you, but I also want to really get into the meat and potatoes of what we're doing tonight. I'm going to start by smudging because I'm so excited. I just want to I want to keep myself also sort of connected and focused. I will get ahead of myself otherwise. But it's really true. The call to be a priestess is the call to service. It's to serve your family, it's to serve your community, and it's to serve this planet. Nothing more and nothing less. And so it is the ultimate act of humility to serve in this capacity because you'll be misunderstood, you'll be judged, you'll be unappreciated sometimes. You'll be, oh, isn't that beautiful? And then other times you'll be revered, you'll be treasured, you'll be appreciated, you'll be loved, and you got to take both because both of those experiences, those realities, those places are accurate. You're everything and nothing, right? You are wise and the fool. And you sit between those two. Team SG, if my volume is low, can you let me know? Just so I can calibrate, because some people are saying the volume is low and some people are not saying that. It's really true. So if you are answering this call, if you have signed up for this class, then you already know probably everything I'm telling you, and I'm just reminding you that there will be easy parts of this road and there will be challenging parts of this road. For me, this is not an option. I was born into this lineage and this legacy. Priestessing is literally in my blood. And so whether you were born into it or you've chosen it, I don't think it's really a choice. I think it's a calling. You know, the word vocation comes from the Latin root word vox, and vox means voice. Your vocation is what you're here to say. It's what your deepest, most primal, authentic expression of you actually is. And I promise you that whatever that vocation is, whatever your voice is always accurate. It's always true. It's always right. You can always trust it. And you may not like it all the time, and other people may not like it all the time. But that expression of you, that vox, that vocation, that calling, that I have to do this no matter what. I have to do it whether people pay me for it. I have to do it whether people pay attention to it or not. I didn't start Sage Goddess to be successful. I started Sage Goddess to share my authentic voice. And so you can't start anything as a priestess expecting it to be successful. What you have to do is start something as a priestess expecting it to be heard, because you're going to express your voice, and then those who need that voice and connect with that voice, right, are going to feel called back to you. So you feel the call from Spirit, your vox, your vocation, and then Spirit responds to that calling by offering you opportunities to practice and to learn and to grow, and then ultimately to share what you know with those around you. And that is how you give back, right? Aho to that. Okay. So welcome. I'm going to begin by ringing my bell tonight. And this is an homage to Soul Shift 2019. This came in the first Mesa last year. A lot of what we did last year in 2019 had a very sort of rich shamanic lineage to it. We, underneath our altar, we placed bay leaves in place of coca leaves, and we used cornmeal and other materials which have a lineage in Central and South America, really in a Q'ero shamanic tradition. We're not doing all of that this year because I've pulled back a little bit on some of that, focusing more on priestessing as opposed to shamaning. Because it feels as I've been telling you for the last year, I really don't like the way people feel like they have ownership over shamanism. And so I've retreated from it a little bit. You're not going to see as much shamanism proper in my work with you this year, just because it feels almost like something that at some point has to be reclaimed and sort of expanded back out. So anytime people start to fight over something and pretend like they own something, I get really turned off and I stop doing it. So I'm going back to my roots, which is really priestessing, matriarchy. This is all in my literal physical blood as well as my energetic blood. And so I'm going back to really what feels true and accurate for me. And if at some point, I will of course drum this year, but some of the things that are strict shamanism, I'm releasing until people can really understand the reality, which is shamanism doesn't belong to anybody. But while there's kind of infighting in the field, I don't want to participate in that. It's true, these are my shamanic roots. And the reality is shaman, right? The word shaman, if you take it back to its Siberian roots, because it's not even a Central or South American concept, but if you take the word shaman back to its Siberian roots, it literally just means one who knows. Just like the word witch, right? From Wicca, W-I-C-C-E, just means wise. And so I'm a witch, I'm a shaman. People have these attachments to these words, and all of those words mean, my dear priestesses, is I know things, and I walk among the dead and the living with equal comfort. And so, again, if people say, well, I'm this, I'm that, if it makes people feel better, I think that's great. There was a thread in the group around titles and lineages, and I thought it was such a great thread. And what I was trying to offer to that whole thread is, I think I'm a medicine person. I think I'm someone who, if you come, and I'm still figuring this out at 46, I definitely feel like I can own the word priestess. But I don't even like that because then people think that's a woman, and I don't think a priestess is a woman. And so, because priestess includes priest. Do you know what I mean? So when people ask me what I am, I always say, I'm a teacher. And then they say, what do you teach? And I say, I teach how to work with both the living and the dead. And then if they seem interested in that, then I give them a little more information. But if they seem freaked out, then I'm like, what do you do for a living? Maybe it's different. So, I'm not going to ask you to attach to a label this year. And I would actually really encourage you, maybe you can attach to priestess if it feels good to you, but don't even feel like you have to do that. Just because you're taking a class called Soul Shift and Pillars of Priestessing, which is what session 1 is each month, doesn't mean you have to say, I'm a priestess. I take that on. That's my mantle. You don't have to do that. Try it on like a costume. You know what I mean? And ask yourself, is this comfortable? Does this fit? Right? Honestly, at the end of the day, we're just wise people. We're people who know. And not everybody knows what we know, which is why it's valuable. And so whatever you call it, I think the most important thing is be true to yourself. And if you start to feel like people have ownership of a term, maybe play with something else. You know what I mean? Like, find a new toy. I guess is what I'm saying, right? The labels don't really work. You can say spiritual leader. You can say mystic. I like mystic. Lisa, right? Like, I think that's interesting. And I also think there's some validity and some power in saying I don't work with terms, because those terms are yours, they're not mine. I don't really know what they mean. And letting people just kind of sit with that too. Athena Max, a goddess, right? Okay, I love all of that, by the way. So, but the one thing I want to carry over this year is the bell. So if you have a bell, you can ring your bell. If you don't have a bell, I just rang your bell for you. And when you hear the bell, that's really the start of our work together each session. And then when you hear the bell the second time, that's the close of our work together. And bells are important in magical work because the spirits recognize the bell. When you ring a bell, what they say in Wicca and some of the earth-based witchcraft traditions is that all of the spirits come. So we have rung our bell, and session 1 is officially open. Okay. I have lots of things that I've written for you tonight that I hope you're going to really enjoy. All of those either are in your classroom or will be in your classroom. Team SG is taking notes. I just want you to enjoy tonight. I don't want you to work hard. I want you to listen, relax, allow, surrender, and just be for a little while. The bell always makes me feel better. And you can also, you can strike a singing bowl, if you want. That can be your bell tone. If you have your tingshes from last year from our Mabon ceremony, remember that? You can ring your tingshes, so whatever you have that works for you works for me too. I want to tell you that this year in Pillars of Priestessing, in this part of our class, session 1, is going to culminate with your initiation as a priestess. And I'm already designing your initiation ceremony for the end of the year, which will be very different from the last time we did initiation properly through the original Pillars of Priestessing. So I hope you're excited about that too. I love that. Christy's got a gong. Sylvie has a spirit bell. I love that. Cindy, I love that too. Mystic shifters. I'm trying to get my podcast going, and I want to call it the Shift Show. I think that'd be really funny. Dave didn't think it was that great, but I think the Shift Show is a really fun name for a podcast. Okay. So let me just say a couple of things to get us started. As I mentioned to you, and I've said this to you many times, my my training began when I was a teenager. I was an initiate in a high priestess training program, and I left that program right before I was initiated. And the reason is that I really, at that point, and still to this day, really, I still, because of my Christian roots, really see God as God. We had to agree to see God as bifurcated in order to be initiated, that God was both God and goddess. And I really struggled with that. And so when I was honest with the high priest and priestess, they recommended that I not complete the initiation. And so I didn't. But I still feel to this day that I got what I needed. As I went through the whole program, just didn't graduate, right? And so what I want to share with you is this. Take from what I'm going to share with you this year, take what fits and what resonates and what just sings to your soul, and let everything else go. No one's ever going to, and nor should they want to, and nor should they convince you that everything they're offering you is everything that you need. And so take what works for you, take what resonates with you, move with that in the world, embrace that, own that as your own, and then whatever doesn't resonate, let it go. It might be important for somebody else, but it may not be important for you. It's really, really important for you to do that. And I guess I wish that the people at the time who were teaching me would have said that. It was really very much an all or nothing proposition. And I think that turned me off. So I just want to make sure that you know what I share is going to be my best thinking. It's my best training. It's, you know, my best, really everything that I have to offer you as far as I've gotten, you know, this far on my path. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't take that and incorporate that into your own, you know, practice and tradition in a way that resonates with you. Okay, good. Priestessing is not the what. Priestessing is the how you do things. Priestessing isn't that you cook a meal, it's how you cook the meal. A priestess cooks differently. She prays and blesses the ingredients as she's gathering them at the store. And she's listening for, oh, should I add fennel? Oh, I should add fennel. Oh, I don't know what fennel. Oh, fennel is for, you know, and she's listening. And then when a priestess goes home and begins to cook her meal, she gathers up all her ingredients and she blows her breath across them and says a blessing. And then as she cooks, she imagines infusing that meal with love and each ingredient, thanking the mother plant and the mother tree and the mother source of those ingredients as they go in. And then as she's stirring, she's setting intentions. She imagines the people who are going to be receiving that food and how it's going to nourish their cells and open their body and ease their mind. And it's not that she's cooking, it's how she's cooking. It's not that he's gathering ingredients, it's how he blesses the ingredients that separates the priestess from anyone else. This is how you bring this into your life. That's why I'm telling you, like, on the way home tonight, I have to stop at the grocery store because I'm cooking. I'm still priestessing in that grocery store. And the more you do this work, what you're going to find is people find you. I've had the most magical experiences in the vegetable aisle at the grocery store, or in the checkout lane, or in the parking lot before I go in and or as I come out, because as you begin to walk this walk, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, people will come to you. It's not just about you going to people. People will come to you and say, there's something different about you. There's something different about the way you carry yourself. There's something different about the way you chose those groceries. There's something different about the way you thanked that person who was putting those groceries in your bags, right? There's something different about it. And so it's every single detail of your life. And like I said, it never turns on and it never shuts off. There's never not a moment when I'm not priestessing in some capacity. Okay. The high priestess for me, more than like a god or a deity, is an archetype. And I kind of want you to close your eyes for a second. And I'm, like I said, I have so much I want to do with you tonight. Hang on to your hats. I want you to roll your shoulders back for a minute. This light is coming in right now. It's so beautiful. It's sunset time. In ancient times, as your priestess, and you as my priestess, we would have been preparing the temple for ceremony at this time of day. And it would have been very quiet. It would have been very silent. And barefooted, we would have been gathering the supplies at this time of day, every single day, for our work, our ceremonial work in the temple at evening and at sunset. And so you might have seen me shuffling across the temple floor, gathering the supplies, gathering the wood or the candles or the herbs or the resins or the tools, and just sort of quietly moving across, preparing. And maybe every once in a while you'd see me gazing up at the sky, because I would be watching the direction of the sun, because I would know by the direction of the sun where to place the candles and where to place the resins. This is the work that we did every single day. And so this time of day is really holy. It's what we call a liminal space. It's not quite day, it's not quite night. And so I love that we're starting here, because this would have been a time of day where we would have been at work doing this, preparing the ceremonial space, beginning to light the candles and the torches, lighting them all clockwise around the temple space. We always open circles clockwise and then close them counterclockwise. So we would have been lighting the candles, turning our entire body and attention around the wheel clockwise, sunwise, to open the circle and beginning to prepare for ceremony in the evening. So we're going to do ceremony tonight too, a little bit as well. Okay. Remember too that the high priestess archetype, for me at least, is aligned with what's known as the Shekinah. The Shekinah in the Christian tradition is the female face of God. Everything in our universe is dual, right? That goes back to the Hermetic principles. And so everything is dual: light, dark, masculine, feminine, God, goddess. And so even God in the Christian tradition has a female face, and that's the Shekinah. The Shekinah didn't seek to usurp the power or overthrow the power of the masculine. It was a complement, but it was an equal complement. And the Shekinah has, for the most part, and we'll talk about this over the course of the year, the Shekinah really was over thousands of years sort of written out of the Bible and out of the Christian tradition. But a lot of us feel that call back to Christianity, but with more of the acknowledgement of the gifts and the blessing of the feminine too. So if Shekinah resonates with you, if that word, if that energy resonates with you, that's another way for you to think about your power, connecting with the feminine face of God. Okay. We are going to be talking about leadership. And the other thing I want to tell you, so what qualifies me to teach this class for you, I was almost initiated as a high priestess myself. I have a PhD in leadership from the University of Southern California. A lot of you know that, but some of you don't, and so it's good for you to know. I worked with Warren Bennis. He was on my doctoral dissertation committee. Warren Bennis, before he passed away a few years ago, which was one of the toughest losses of my adult life, as he was much more than a mentor. He was almost like a father figure to me in another way, is one of the foremost scholars in leadership, in business leadership in the world. He's authored at least a dozen books, and I mentioned in the foreword of one of his books, which was a real honor to me. And so I have academic leadership training in addition to spiritual leadership training, and then of course you know that I've been doing my work as Sage Goddess for 9 years. So all of that comes to bear tonight for you in a way that I hope makes a lot of sense, because I want to talk to you about spiritual leadership, but I also want to talk to you about leadership more generally. Because I think learning how to lead yourself, your family, and your community enriches your life and helps you to bring your soul gifts forward. A lot of you have been hungering for spiritual leadership training, and I brought it to you in a certain way, but not enough, I think, of the academic for you as well. So I want to bring that forward so you can learn more about that too. Okay. The number one tenet of spiritual leadership for me, and again, because tonight's session 1, I want to kind of lay the foundation. The number one thing I want you to think about tonight and bring this forward into your life between now and next month, when we have our next first session, our next Pillars of Priestessing session. A priestess makes no assumptions. Like, I want you to see tonight as a new beginning for you. And going forward in your life, what a priestess does is a priestess ceases making assumptions. She doesn't make assumptions about people. She doesn't make assumptions about people's relationships with God or people's actions. She doesn't judge. Because what a priestess knows, almost more intuitively than anybody else, is how incredibly unique and contextually dependent everybody's lives are. There's no way that I can fully understand your context, so I can never judge you. I would have to know everything there is to know about you in order to judge you. And so because I can't know everything there is to know about you, it's impossible for me to judge you. And that's why we talk about liminal space with priestessing, because I can inquire about you, I can learn about you, I can explore you, I can get to know you, but I'm never going to really understand everything about you, so I can't judge you. And if you find yourself in a place as a priestess of judging someone, I really want you to begin to take notice of that. And we're human, so I still will be like, well, she shouldn't have done that. And then I have to stop myself and say, am I for real right now? How do I know she shouldn't have done that? Because I didn't like it? I don't know her life. I haven't, to use my grandmother's saying, I haven't walked a mile in her shoes. How would I know if that's right for her or wrong for her, right? So the number one thing I really want you to think about tonight in terms of beginning this journey is stop judging, stop assuming, and start loving a little deeper. You can look at a priestess in your life and say, well, people respect her and people admire her and people, don't question her or whatever. Most of the time, if that is true, it's because she's also not judging. She's also not questioning. She's also showing up with some curiosity and an open mind. Do you know? And every time it's like everything is new all over again. And I try to keep that alive in my relationships. I was talking about that earlier today. Like, I've been with my husband for 20 years, but I still try to keep an open mind. Have some flexibility there. Have some gratitude. Keep some playfulness. You know what I mean? Stay curious about him. What's he thinking? What does he need? How can I support him? And that's how you develop that. What people see as like, oh, well, everybody respects a priestess or everybody loves a priestess. If that's true, it's because that priestess has learned how to respect and love people too. And they're just getting back what they give. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me see where I am. Okay. That ability to stop making assumptions and judgments is going to be the source of your power, your wisdom, and your neutrality as a priestess. Truly, truly, truly. It's a great question from Carla. She asked, is there a way to know if it's my intuition versus an assumption? So I'm going to teach you a phrase tonight called pressure test. Okay? So if you start to make an assumption about something, I mean, even something ridiculous like, oh, I think that person is mad at me. Okay. If you assume that somebody in your life is upset with you, the first thing you're going to do, okay, is you're going to react based on your assumption. And so now you're in a spiral. So let's say I think you're mad at me. So now I'm going to react to you the way I would if you were mad. So I'm going to start being defensive, right? Well, what if, I don't know, what if you don't, this, that. My tone is going to change. My body language is going to change. And then you, rightfully so, are going to react to me the same way. Oh, well, now she's mad at me. Okay? And all of a sudden, without any proof or evidence, now you and I are entangled in something that probably isn't even factually accurate. I'm not mad at you. You're not mad at me. We're not in conflict. But now we have, we've begun this spin. We've created this energy stream of conflict together based on assumptions that may or may not be accurate. Now, sometimes when you think someone's mad at you, maybe they are. And then you manifest it, Casey. That's exactly right. And Robin said self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? Pressure test. One thing I do in my life as a priestess, I would consider it a priestessing skill, is I ask, and you may say, oh my God, that's so awkward. I ask people all the time, is there something wrong? Are you upset in any way? Have I done something to upset you? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, the person is like, no, I thank you for asking, but I don't, am I acting like I'm upset? Gosh, I'm so sorry, right? Now, if I had just not asked the question, and so priestesses ask the questions, right? Well, Rachel, that's what I'm saying, right? It's absolutely true. Priestesses ask the questions, even if it's awkward or uncomfortable, because they know if they just act as if, and they just let the energy drive it, sometimes your intuition is not always accurate. So priestesses learn to check it. Ask, that's right, Candace, ask before you assume. You know the whole saying, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. ASSUME, you know that saying? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. That's priestessing. So always ask, have I done something to upset you? I feel like there's this energy between us, but I don't know, and I just want to make sure before we proceed, or do you have any concerns? This is clean relationship. That's exactly right. Gypsy Jen said it best. This is clean relationship. And another thing too, if you feel uncomfortable, say something to people. The energy feels thick, it feels dense, it feels heavy, and I'd like to move it. I'd like to shift it because I'd like to be able to talk with you or go out with you or have dinner with you, but right now it feels really thick, and I'm wondering if we can dialogue about that, because I would like to clear it. For my part, I would like to clear it. The person who comes to clear the energy will always be received well if you approach it the right way. People don't want to live in unclean relationships. They don't like it. It feels uncomfortable. But usually the non-priestess is not going to be the one to fix it. They're not going to be the one to address it. So that's why I'm saying this is both a blessing and a responsibility, because it puts you a little bit in the driver's seat. A priestess is a leader. So yes, you're going to be the first one to say, feels weird. Dave laughs at me all the time, but we will have a meeting and I will stop the whole meeting and say, it's weird and I don't want this. So can we just articulate what this is? And then we can go back and have the rest of the meeting. But for right now, it's weird and we're not even being productive. That's still priestessing. That's why I'm saying I didn't want to put on a fancy dress and some glittery, eye things and stuff and make it look like this is just a once a month special occasion thing. This is like, hey folks, it's weird here and I'd like to clear the air before we keep going, right? That's still priestessing. And so it may not look like, this etheric sort of fairy whatever, but that is still spiritual leadership. And you know what? When you do ask, what happens? All the energy in the room shifts and it gets better, right? All of a sudden people are laughing, they're lighthearted, because you shifted it, because you were brave enough to articulate it, because you acknowledge that you're having this experience, this energetic experience, right? And it's okay. In fact, everybody's going to be grateful to you, like, oh, thank God she said something, right? That's the priestess. The priestess is the one where people say, thank God she said something. Thank God he acknowledged that. Thank the clouds. Thank source, whatever, right? Well, but Ms. Lucky said I get ostracized. Again, hear me out on this, okay? There's a few things tonight that are core lessons that I really need you to hear. It's not the what, it's the how. If you do things in a way that welcomes people to the table, that makes people feel acknowledged and heard and seen, then you are less likely to be ostracized. If it comes out as judgment or as as a you versus them, then it can feel like ostracizing. So it's about bringing people together. That's right, Kenneth said, holding the community together and saying, we all collectively have a desire to achieve a mutually beneficial outcome. In corporate life, they call it the MBO, the mutually beneficial outcome. We all have a desire to do that. I talk to my kids like this too. We have a mutually beneficial outcome here. We want to have a nice meal. To do that, to achieve that mutually beneficial outcome, I need y'all to come to the table. And I need this to shift. I need that to open. I need us to be able to dialogue and communicate. But it's about speaking it into the space and making everybody feel like they are part of the process. Does that make sense? So sometimes you're going to have to be the voice, to Nathan's point. And he's committing to being the voice in his situation and his communities. And this all changes one relationship, one dialogue, one conversation at a time. And you practice and you get better. And you practice and you get better. But your family has mutually beneficial outcomes. Your job has mutually beneficial outcomes. We together as a Soul Shift community have mutually beneficial outcomes. To get to those things, we have to dialogue and share space and be open and honest and clean with each other. And so how do we get to that place, right? Well, and sometimes, here's the thing, guys, Ursula, the priestess is not always the most popular person in the room. That's the other thing. This is no popularity contest. The first person to be judged will be the priestess. I can't tell you how many people. I mean, when I first started Sage Goddess, I had people who loved it and I had people who were so judgmental. Who does she think she is? Who is, she's going to tell me, blah, 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 right? And then years later coming back and saying, I appreciate how brave you were. I learned so much from you. I'm so sorry that I, judged you and stuff. And it can go for years. And sometimes people don't come back and ever say anything. Here's the thing, you can't handle the heat, this ain't the kitchen for you. I'll just be honest. I mean, if there are going to be times where people don't like you and don't like what you have to say, but it's usually because it's so uncomfortably true that they're not ready to sit with it yet. And also, sometimes you'll be wrong. And the most important thing you can do when you are wrong as a priestess is to acknowledge it and say you're wrong. This is not, if you're signing up for a life of leisure, priestessing probably isn't the path. I'm checking the light to see if you can see me okay. There we go. That's right. Amy Novak said, forged in the fire. Here's what I will tell you. I don't have a choice. Maybe you have a choice. I have tried to not priestess like 3 or 4 times in my life. And every time the universe is like, it just picks me up from where I run to and drops me off, and then picks me up from where I run to and drops me off. This is what I'm here to do. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's rough. Sometimes it's confrontational. Lynette wants to be a leisurely priestess, right? So I can't promise you, and really hear me on this, I can't promise you that this is going to be easy. But I can promise you that it will be worth it. Let me say that again. I can't promise you that this will be easy. I can't. I would be lying to you if I promised you it would be easy. I can promise you that it's going to be worth it. Okay. We have so much work to do tonight. How are you guys doing? Is everything resonating with you so far? Any questions before I move on? This shit's hard, you guys. I mean, look, if I make it look easy, then absolutely my apologies to you. My job is not easy. The priestess gets projected on. She gets like, oh, who does she think she is? Or, oh, you're the reason. Or in medicine work, the mantra is, don't blame the medicine. If you ever do ayahuasca or San Pedro or any of the plant medicines, if you have a good plant medicine teacher, that plant medicine teacher is going to tell you, you have problems after this, don't blame the medicine. It's hard. I'm just being honest. But everything's hard. Isn't everything hard? Let me ask you this. Isn't it hard not to do this? Isn't it hard to live inauthentically? Isn't it hard to deny that you're a powerful being? Isn't it hard not to love and support and nourish and want to pursue the highest good? Isn't it hard not to articulate these things? Isn't it hard? It's a great question. Athena Mack asked, how do we advocate for the oppressed without coming across like we're blaming the people instead of the structure? Yeah, how do you do that? But here's again, always both. Always both. You have to look at the oppressed and the oppressor. And you have to find compassion for both. It's tricky. But you have to work both sides. That's priestessing. The priestess is not the one who's just the advocate for the oppressed. The priestess is the one who, on some level, understands the root of the oppression that created the oppressed. And so she can hold both. Does that make sense? She's the both and. You can be a tiptoeing priestess until a certain point. Sometimes you have to step up. I had to step up today for something in my personal life, nothing to do with Sage Goddess. And there was a moment where I held my breath. I was like, should I? Should I? And my spirit guides were like, you're damn well gonna do it. And I did it. And I articulated, and the person wrote back to me and said, I absolutely understand, and you're absolutely right, and I need to look at this closely. But there was part of me that was like, you know what? Maybe she's learning. Maybe she's having her experience. Maybe. And my spirit guides were like, nope. Trust your spirit guides. They're not going to, you can ask, is this time to engage? Is this the way to engage? I did it. I did it. I didn't have to do it, but I asked, I listened, the guidance was do it, right? That's right. That is right. Okay, let's look at our worksheets. I'm not going to, that's part 2 of our work tonight. Part 1 was me, everything I just told you. Candace asked, in those meetings when I say, hey, this is weird, and no one wants to acknowledge it or address it, then what? You keep going. So what's difficult to address here? Let's go around the room. Let's start with you. Person number 1. What is difficult for you to address about this situation, or how do you feel about what we're discussing here? The number 1 thing you have to remember too about this is you have to make it safe for people to communicate with you. If people feel like they're going to tell you the truth and then get their heads bitten off, that's not going to work. So the other thing the priestess does is say, tell me, with the promise of, I'm not going to bite your head off. I'm going to hold neutral space, even if I don't like what you tell me. And so you have to create this environment where people feel really safe telling you the truth. But here's the thing. If people don't feel safe telling you the truth, you're in trouble. No matter what you're doing. I mean, you have to remind people, I want to hear the truth from you even if I don't like it. I want to hear the truth from you even if I'm wrong. I want to hear the truth from you. I want to hear your truth. I can't move forward unless I understand your perspective. If people feel safe with you, and that's part of a priestess's job, is to help people feel safe. If people feel safe, then they'll be open to learning from you and with you, but they have to feel like, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody tells me, oh, be honest with me, but I know if I'm honest with them, they're going to fire me, like, I'm not going to be honest with them. That's just human nature. But if I know, and I've always had really good bosses, except for one, but the rest of them have been really great. And I remember my one boss saying, if I come to you and there's been a problem, I will never just fire you. I will always want to understand what happened so that we can find a solution and move forward. Then I always felt comfortable going to her when there was a problem. I was the first one to go, oh my God, there's a problem. And she would say, it's okay. We're going to solve it. We're going to figure our way through it. But she knew she had an honest employee in me, and that I was always going to tell her the truth because it was safe to tell her the truth. And so you have to create safety for people. You are, as a priestess, both the seer and the soft place to land. You are both the one who knows and the one who can hold it. And that's why I'm saying this is not easy. If you signed up for a real easy gig, priestessing may not be it. But it may be as well. So if you are a priestess, you are the weaver of the web. You are the keeper of the mysteries. You are the reflection in the cauldron. You are the wisdom of the waters. You are the walker of the worlds. You are the healer with the golden blade. And you are the chalice of the gods, as well as the wine that fills it. You are all those things. You are all those things. Okay. In your worksheets, you learned about what kind of priestess you are. You are a primary priestess, and then you have wings. And the wings are kind of your bonus. They're your leftovers, okay? They're the remainder, right? So like I am a fire priestess all the way, but I have air wings because I am all fire and a little bit of air, right? Okay. Couple of things I just want to add to your worksheets because we've talked about them in the Facebook group and we can talk about them here too, but I want to layer over a little bit, not just repeat what you already know, okay? And so remember that, and I really want, if you didn't read the worksheets, I really want you to, because this is information that I want you to know. It says the masculine has been overemphasized in our Western culture for many years. Men have been in the driver's seat. And women who are masculine have been in the driver's seat. That's why I don't want to use male, female. This isn't a men, woman, male, female thing. This is masculine and feminine, and masculine leadership gets valued over feminine leadership. Masculine leadership is outcome based. You either did it or you didn't. And if you did it, you get the prize, and if you didn't get the prize. Feminine leadership is more circular and cyclical, and it's inquiry based, and it wants to understand not just the outcome but the process. How do we get there? How do you feel? What do you think? How is this experienced? It's different. Feminine leadership takes more energy. Masculine leadership's about getting the job done. It's very linear. It's like, here's your job, you do your job, you get a paycheck, and then you get a bonus, and that's masculine, right? The feminine is inclusive, and it's diverse, and it's cyclical, and it winds back on itself. And so sometimes it seems inefficient, feminine leadership, like, it takes so much longer. But it's much more nuanced and complex and rich and subtle. And so you have to ultimately have both. You have to have the masculine, because you got to get shit done, right? So, like, yes, we need outcomes, right? Like, I can't run a company like Sage Goddess without some masculine, because shit's got to get done. You got to get your orders. I got to sit down and teach this class. Like, shit's got to happen, right? But it's how we get there that's different. It's not linear. It's very circular. It's very cyclical. It's very inclusive. It's winding, and it's inquiry based, and it can be frustrating for somebody who just wants A to B to C. Does that make sense? And so the elements are the way that a priestess leads. At least ideally, it's how a priestess leads. So on page 4 of your worksheet, I had you write, and I filled mine out too. A good teacher always does her own homework. So I wrote how I would bring light through the different elements personally, right? And hopefully you filled this out too. So if you, like, for example, for me, I bring light through air by breath work, smoke, and the use of feathers. And then I bring light through fire by burning candles, cultivating my passion, and experiencing transformation. So make sure that if you didn't get the worksheets or go through them already, that you do that. Now, then you had a multiple choice quiz that my team and I put together to help you understand what kind of priestess you are. And if you scored mostly A's, you're an air priestess. Mostly B's, you're water. You can guess where I landed. Mostly C's, you're earth, and mostly D's, you're fire. I am a fire priestess with air wings by the quiz, and I'm also a fire priestess with air wings by my astrological chart. So the one thing I wanted to show you, and feel free to discuss this in the Facebook group too. This is not my chart, by the way, but I just wanted to show you. If you pull your astrological chart, you're probably going to see a table like this one, okay? And this shows you fire, air, earth, water, and then cardinal, fixed, and mutable. You don't really have to know so much about the conditions. I want you to look more at the elements. So like this person is pretty balanced. They have 4 planets in fire, 2 in air. Looks like, my vision is so bad. Looks like 5 in earth and 3 in water. It's like a vision test. I think I just failed it. But anyway, this will either reinforce your quiz results or it will be different from your quiz results. And I would like you for just to know, okay? So again, if you were to look at mine, I'm all fire, second most is air, third most is earth, and then fourth most is water, okay? So you can go by the quiz, or you can go by your chart, or you can look at both. In the case of our team, me and Alexis, our chart reinforced our quiz. Claire's chart doesn't reinforce her quiz. And it's not like one's right and the other one's wrong. It's just that the data is different. And you can use that to, like Dawn was saying, nothing resonated between her chart and the quiz, kind of like Claire. But like I said, Alexis and me, our charts are exactly what the quiz results showed. And not intentionally. I genuinely took the quiz open-minded, not expecting. Okay, so then you know primarily what kind of priestess you are. George is a water priestess. Callie said hers is reinforced. Kate didn't reinforce. So I don't want you to worry about it, but I want you to notice it. because that will give you a full picture of what kind of priestess you are. Interesting, right? So Laura Ann Surround is asking, how do you get a chart like this? This is from astro.com. It's a free site. So you don't have to pay for it, and you just can enter your birth information. You can actually enter up to like 4 or 5 people for free, Laura, and gather up charts. And so this is what the astro.com chart looks like, and it always has this little, that's the little chart right here that you're looking for your elemental balance. Okay, now I gave you this because I want you to know this is how we roll in Soul Shift. I follow, because it's how I was trained, the Lakota medicine wheel for the elements, which means that earth is in the north, fire's in the south, water's in the west, and air's in the east. You don't have to follow this chart, but this is what I follow, and I wanted you to know where it comes from. And then I also gave you the other correspondences there too. Aw, thank you. I was either Maria or Alexis who put up the astro.com link for you so that you can go and find your birth chart. And then the other thing to know, and we'll talk more about this, is this is called Set Your Table, because tonight's conversation about Pillars of Priestessing is about set and setting, which we're going to get to in just a minute. On your altar, it's good if you can have at least one item that represents each one of the elements, okay? And tomorrow in Crystal Masters, get ready for Crystal Masters tomorrow, I'm going to be teaching you Feng Shui in the Bagua map, which is about where to place altars in your home by their intention and their purpose. And so for air, we typically place a feather to represent the element of air on the altar. We typically use a candle for fire. We typically use a perfume or agua de Florida or something like that to represent water, although the abalone shell, if you put your smudge in an abalone shell, that also represents water. And then crystals to represent the north. And then usually there's something in the heart center of your altar that represents spirit. That can be something that's meaningful to you. That can be your amulet. You know, you can leave your amulet in this center heart space, spirit space of your altar. So this just gives you a layout, and then tomorrow you're going to have a much better understanding, because I'm going to be taking you around the classroom here. I'm going to have 4 or 5 different grids set up, and I'm going to talk to you about placement of those grids in alignment with the Bagua map. So tomorrow night's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, chalice. Thank you, Athena Matt. Great. I mean, put a chalice. Put a small bud vase with some fresh herbs in the west to represent water, right? There's a lot of different ways to do that feels good to you. You can put your bell in the center as a heart space tool. Cindy Conti, love that. And hydro agate for water, I love that too. What a perfect option, right? If you have an anhydro quartz. Yeah, so we will give you all the Bagua map information. You don't have to go research anything. Yeah, so the first class is the only class with worksheets for your purposes each month. There will be written material and notes and everything for every class, especially Crystal Masters. So you'll still have lots of information, and there will be worksheets, like you're going to get a Bagua map worksheet. But in general, POP is the one with all the worksheets. Okay, good. And if you want more information, we try to give you too much information. So if you're a reader, because I'm a reader, I don't know about you, but when I take classes, I print everything out. Sounds funny. I put it in the bathroom because that's usually where I have the most amount of time to sit and read. So my bathroom is full of the printouts of different classes that I take. I just print everything out, put it in the bathroom. Again, I could make this into a fancy schmancy priestessing class, or I could tell you real deal, like priestessing is for the magic and the mundane. And sometimes you only have 5 minutes a day in the bathroom, and that's where you read your worksheets. Oh yes, wildlife coaching, stay with me. I'm going as fast as I can tonight, but I also don't want to go too fast, but I've got so much for you. So please stay tuned. We're going to talk about all your symbols. I'm going to talk about how you trace them, how you should incorporate them into your routine. So hang with me. Okay, now you know what kind of priestess you are, don't you? Now, I think I taught you this in Italy. Everything comes back to food for Greek people. In Italy, the best pizza makers, right? Like the super old school pizza makers, the really old foundational restaurants. They still have what they call the mother dough. And so they have pieces of dough that they made pizza out of 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they keep taking little tiny pieces off and they weave it into the next dough, which creates like a lineage, it creates a legacy. I try to do that in every class. And so I want to carry over something from the first Pillars of Priestessing into this year. And that is the invocation that I wrote 5 years ago. I would like to read it to you now. And then I'm going to do an initiation ceremony with you to initiate you into your element tonight. Are you ready? I know. Let's not talk about pizza. I will distract you. I'll distract myself too. Okay, so I would like for you to close your eyes, roll your shoulders back. I know I'm gonna cry too. Don't cry. Don't cry. But this is the exact invocation that I read to you almost 4.5 years ago. And so here it is. As a priestess, I seek the way, the path, and I honor what is old in me, the knowing. I feel the ancestors gather around, watching, and I sense their wisdom imparted. This is how I know what I know. I seek the tools and the instruments, and I honor what is old in them, the history. I feel the ancestors gather around, offering their assistance, and I sense their ways imparted. This is how I do what I do. I am a priestess, and my way is the way to wisdom. I have within me the power and the energy I need, and I know how to tap into that eternal and endless fountain of inspiration that flows from the temples of the old days when my body was a vessel of experience and my spirit was available to all, open and yet closed. The mystery surrounding me veiled and yet physical. I know these times. My body retains some memory of them. And in the memories, I find my deepest self waiting to be unearthed. I am a priestess. Tonight and all nights, Great Spirit, honor my becoming as we gather and circle and learn and grow. Help us remember who we are. Let us remember, and in the remembering, our past selves integrate and allow the path to become etched deeper and deeper so that the oldest ways may never be forgotten. And so it is. And so it is. Okay. If you are a priestess of air, where are all my priestesses of air? Priestess of air. I would like for you to bring your third eye to the camera, wherever you are watching me. Priestesses of air. Doesn't matter where your wings are. Do I have you, priestesses of air? I'm going to read your invocation. And this, like I said, is a minor initiation. I'm initiating you tonight into your element, to empower you to work with your element, to bring your element forward, to embody your element, to live your element. There's my air priestesses. I love you so much. Well, go with I'm only initiating you into one element tonight. So if you are 50-50 on two, go with the one that you want to cultivate. Go with the one that you want to be initiated into, okay? If you're equal, you choose. Or if you want to be initiated into both, then rise for both. Okay, you ready? Rise, priestess of air, keeper of the winds and the breath of love. You carry us on eagle's great wings and lend to us hawk's keen vision. You enchant us with sparkling visions of spaciousness and sacred permission. Keep lifting us, keep moving us, keep inspiring us to think freely. Keep beyond right and wrong, black and white, and keep your vistas expansive and open. Rise, priestess of air, and receive your initiation in the east. For you carry gifts of clarity, expansion, and allowance. And we thank you, we thank you, we thank you, Hawk Sisters. Sisters of the air. Okay, fire priestesses. Where are my fire priestesses? Where are my fire priestesses? I'm a fire priestess, so if you are a fire priestess, come to me. Woo! There you are. Bring the fire. I love it. Bring all that fire right over here. And now it is your turn to rise, priestess of fire, keeper of the flame and sacred passion. You take us down deep and fast into the cauldron of the earth, and you offer to us the resins and the herbs burning, and you keep moving us, you keep shape-shifting us, transforming us into our newest selves. Snake medicine rising and revealing to us what we seek and desire most in this world. Burn through what we resist and fear, priestesses of the fire, so that we can step into our power. Rise now, priestess of fire, and receive your initiation in the south. You carry gifts of power, possibility, and creation, and we thank you, we thank you, we thank you, Snake Sisters. Woo! How you feeling? And now, where are my priestesses of water? Keep rising, girls. Where are my priestesses of water? We just cued a siren together. Did you hear that? Priestesses of water. Rise to me, priestess of water, keeper of the wave and the crest and all healing. You take us beneath. Fearlessly and powerfully, for your domain is the domain of water. The rest of us are learning this womb medicine that once we all breathed in the water. We breathed in our mother's bellies, and yet we have forgotten. What else have we forgotten? Our oils, our perfumes, sacred medicine to anoint the meridians and the passageways, and oh, of course, our tears. Our tears help us to weep, water priestesses, letting go and allowing the waves to come and wash clean what we do not know how to cleanse, ourselves. Rise now, priestess of water, and receive your initiation in the west. You carry gifts of intuition, expression, and imagination, and we thank you. We thank you. We thank you, Dolphin Sisters. And then the stone priestesses, the earth priestesses. Rise now, priestesses of the north and priestesses of earth. Where are my earth sisters? Where are my earth beloveds? Here we are. Woo! Come to me. I need you now more than ever. Woo! And rise, priestesses of earth, keepers of the cauldron and the space. You tether us gently and remind us that we cannot venture too far nor too deep to be saved, for we are always safe. And oh, we thank you, priestesses of what remains steady and true, safe here in Gaia's tender embrace. Tangled roots and slowed movements, there's no rushing here in the north. Our gemstones, our beloved crystal teachers, are older than time and wiser than wise. Rise now, priestess of earth, and receive your initiation in the north. For you carry gifts of safety, patience, and wisdom. And we thank you, we thank you, we thank you, Buffalo Sisters. We walk the wheel. We feel the edges. We embody the medicine. We know our worth. And together we say, Amen, Aho, and so it is. I understand, and through me, it is done. Aho. Aho, aho, aho. Hawk priestess, dolphin priestess. Beautiful, isn't it? I'm so glad you enjoyed that. So, it's a very important part of our work tonight to initiate you into your element. So that you walk in that element, you move in that element, you teach from that element, you clear with that element, and you feel connected to that element in a new and really embodied way. And you know what? I will tell you, like, if I'm doing these, because I'm going to be doing invocations like this almost every month, if I'm doing it and you just feel like you want to start moving and dancing and all of a sudden you feel a rhythm, you sense a rhythm, like, get in your body. I mean, if you're not going to move around and dance and feel this and connect to it now, when are you going to do it? I mean, if you're at work, that's different. Woo! Okay. Aho. So let us talk now briefly about our pillar for the month, and then we're going to talk about our symbol, and we're going to make our perfume, and then our work tonight will be done. So I imagine we have about 20 to 30 minutes left together. Hopefully that works for you and your schedule. Can you guys see me okay? It's kind of romantic not to be like overlit, but I just want to make sure you guys feel like you can see me. So glad. Okay. Your first pillar of priestessing for January, which we haven't even gotten to tonight, is preparation. When I taught this class 4.5 years ago, the first pillar of priestessing was surrender. And I will tell you, I'm actually going to light a second candle just because I think you'll be able to see me a little bit better if I do. I will tell you that that's one of the changes I made. Because we don't really start with the surrender. The surrender happens after the space is open, after we have crossed the threshold. That's when we surrender. But the first step is to prepare for the work. And so I have taken a step back in this 2.0 of Pillars of Priestessing to teach you a concept that I never mentioned the first time. And that's why I'm telling you, this is, I don't want to cry, it's emotional for me. I'm so glad I get to do this a second time. I will not teach Pillars of Priestessing again. This is the last time I will teach it. I won't be teaching it in 2021. This is it. I'm going to teach it this year. I'm going to write the book, and then Pillars of Priestessing will be officially retired as a teaching, thing. But I'm so glad I get to come back to it because this is so critical, and I overlooked it the first time. It wasn't enough part of my process yet, I guess. If I'm candid, right? It wasn't. This is one of the main differences over these 4.5 years, and so I'm thrilled to be able to bring it to you in this way. Okay. I'm so glad you're here too. In the 60s and 70s, Timothy Leary was one of the fathers of what's known as the psychedelic experience, and really a pioneer in terms of helping us understand the ways in which psychedelic plant medicines really can help us deepen our connection to source, to God, however you think of that energy. Okay. Timothy Leary, who, these are intense academics with doctoral degrees, professors, right? Ultimately, you can read the story of Timothy Leary. He ended up having sort of a challenging experience after working with psychedelics because academics weren't super into it. That's the Cliff's Notes version. But he was a really brilliant man, and I love watching his videos. I still watch him sometimes on YouTube. He did a lot of documentary work. You can find him, okay? But one of his most famous concepts that I never taught you, but that honestly I would be remiss not to, is this concept he named set and setting. Set, S-E-T, and setting, S-E-T-T-I-N-G. So I'm teaching you Timothy Leary's conception of set and setting. And like I said, once I really incorporated this into my practice, it was a game changer. Okay, Sylvie's read all of his books, so this may not be new to you, but a lot of you, when I've talked to you, have not known what set and setting is. And I thought, I have to teach you this just ethically because it's the responsible thing to do. Okay, of the two concepts, so both of those relate to preparation for ceremony. Of the two concepts, setting is the easy part. Setting is the environment, okay? And really, take a moment almost to close your eyes and think about what I'm telling you. Let's say you're a priestess and you're going to marry a couple, or you're going to hold a full moon ceremony, or you're going to, hold a Beltane ritual, or you're going to, conduct a hand fasting. These are all traditional things that a priestess would do in her role, in her capacity. Setting is just the environment, but it's still really important. Okay, where am I going to be doing this? Is it indoors or outdoors? What's the temperature going to be like? Because people can't really enjoy ceremony if they're too cold, if they're too hot. A priestess has to think about all of that. If you want to marry people as a priestess, you still have to be ordained, by the way. I'm ordained as a minister. It's not hard to get ordained. You can get ordained online. You can get ordained in person. And I would highly recommend it because I love marrying people. It's one of my favorite things. I'm actually building in the new building, I'm building an archway where I can marry couples at Sage Goddess, because I've married quite a few people in the classroom right here, including one of your sisters in sabbatical. So anyway, it's just been wasn't sabbatical at the time, so it's been a really important part of my practice. I haven't married a ton of people, but another one of your sisters, I married her son to his beloved this year. So it's one of my favorite things to do. So setting is just the environment. Are people going to be comfortable? Will I have candles? What kind of smudging tools do I need? How am I calling the directions? How am I going to mark the directions? Should I be gridding? Okay. Should I put a grid under the floor? Should I put a grid on top of the floor? How early can I get there? If I'm going to be the last one to leave, how long will it take me to gather my supplies back up? Do I need people who are coming to my ceremony to have supplies? This is all the setting stuff, okay? And I'm sharing this with you because a lot of times people don't think about that aspect of it. You need to think about gathering your tools, okay, so that you have a way of transporting them. Like I made those 4 directional generators this year. Did you see those, the quartz ones? I had them made in a custom box and in velvet bags so you could travel with them, because as a priestess, I travel quite a bit and I need to be able to take my tools with me. So setting is simply The physical environment, music, lighting, temperature, pillows, smudging, gritting. How are you actually going to create a physical experience for people that's going to transport them from their mundane life, whatever they did during the day, to this magical experience that you're going to create for them? Okay, and every part of everything that goes into that. Okay, set is the harder part of this, and I really want you to hear me, because this for me is spiritual leadership 101. Okay, set is your mental environment, yours. Okay, setting is everybody else. Do they have what they need? Are they comfortable? And what do I have to bring to prepare? And also to what will I have to take down as a priestess? Set is your mindset. Okay, it's more complex. You can't necessarily control this. This is about your energetic state. For women, this can also include your menstrual cycle. It can include your reproductive cycle. If you're a crone, your set might be different than if you're a maiden. If you are familiar with the people and with the setting, then your mental state might be different than if you're holding ceremony, in Africa and you've never been to Africa before. That might disrupt your mental state. And so these are the things that you have to take into consideration before you begin a ceremony. Does that make sense? So setting is literally the environment, and set is what's going on with you. Are you comfortable with the ceremony? Did you design it, or are you using somebody else's? So maybe it's not intuitive to you, right? Are you in a good place mentally? Are you ready? Did you have time to meditate during the day? Are you feeling anxious? All of these things go into set. Okay. There's two different kinds of set. Okay. There's the immediate set, and then there is the long-term set. The immediate set is your immediate mindset. The long-term set is sort of your broader state of mental well-being. Okay. Why does this matter? Because you bring who you are to what you do. As a priestess, the days of being someone during the day and then being some other person at night, those days go away. I promise you, if you saw me first thing in the morning, and then you saw me now, and then you saw me on the weekend, and then you saw me tomorrow, I don't change. Sherry just spent the weekend with me. I'm sure she could tell you, I don't change. I'm the same person. I don't talk differently. I don't put on a special magic voice when I'm priestessing. I sometimes don't even change my clothing, right? It all has to be consistent. The days of you putting on a show for people or being one person but acting like another and stuff, all that has to go away, because this is about authenticity, right? It's about showing up fully as you are and realizing that you don't have to be someone different or more magical or in weird clothes or anything to be a priestess. You don't have to wear a cape. You don't have to, you know what I mean? It's, at least for me, it's very important. There are 4 things that you want to focus on to create a good set, a good mindset for yourself for ceremony. And this is really important for you, okay? Number 1 is grounding. If your energy isn't grounded, it isn't useful. I promise you. And how many empaths and psychics and stuff have you known who were just floating in the clouds but couldn't get anything done? Energy is not helpful if it's not grounded. So you have to be grounded. That's the first quality, or the first process of what we call local or immediate set considerations, okay? The second is surrender. And that's where we've talked about, in fact, in session 1 of Pillars of Priestessing last time, I talked about Mary and the angel who came in the Annunciation moment when the angel asked Mary to carry Christ. And Mary just said, I will. You have to surrender to the work that you're doing. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to feel what you're doing. Be in the moment. If you don't have everything you need, let it go, right? Who wants a stressed out priestess? Do you want that? When I go to ceremony, I want my priestess to be almost walking on air. I want her to be relaxed, but grounded, centered and mindful, but peaceful. That's the kind of experience I want to have. And so this is how you create that for people, okay? You create trust by being grounded, by surrendering, by staying curious, okay? Curiosity is a big part of set. what are we going to experience here tonight? I had this class mapped out for you, but I didn't know exactly how it was going to go. I didn't script every word. I try not to look at my notes too much because I really don't like it when online teachers read from their notes. I don't enjoy that, so I try not to give you that experience. And so, you know what I mean? I don't know exactly where it's going, but I kind of trust and I stay curious about, like, what are we going to learn together, right? And then the last thing is, and the most important thing, can you guess? Can you guess what the most important aspect of set is for a high priestess? I bet you can. You will not always have what you need. I guarantee you. I do a lot of priestessing. I would say 25% of the time, I don't got what I need. But you know what? You fake it till you make it. What do you think it is? Love is a good guess, but it's not it. Arabella got it. Intention. If there's only one thing that you walk away from this class tonight with, and hopefully there's a bunch of things, but if there's only one, it is this. Everything you will ever do as a priestess comes down to your intention. And you've got to get it right. You have to know why you're there. You have to know your purpose. You have to know what's possible, because you can't hold a container unless you have set an intention for that container. That is how you seal a space. Love can be your intention, right? Peace can be your intention. Joy can be your intention. Can you imagine walking into a ceremony with a priestess who didn't have an intention for it? I mean, I personally can't. I can't imagine walking into a room and having a priestess just setting everything up and me going, you know, what are we doing here? And her just going, or him just going, well, I don't know. We're gonna have a circle. Really? Intention is everything. It is literally everything. And everything you do should have an intention. What was your intention for this day? Today's Tuesday. Tis Tuesday. What was your intention for Tuesday? Today is Tuesday, the 21st of January. Did you have an intention when you woke up this morning? My intention was to enjoy this day, because I knew I was so excited to see you and so excited to teach, and I was so excited to share this, and I didn't know exactly how it was going to unfold, but I wanted to just enjoy it, right? You should have an intention for every meal, every day, every conversation, every engagement, until it becomes second nature to you. And sometimes it's beautiful to say it. Like, sometimes I'll sit down and I'll, with Nick, for example, my son, and I'll say, you know what? I want to spend half an hour with you, if that's okay, if you've got time. And my intention for this time is just for you and I to enjoy each other's company and to kind of, I want to hear about your day, and I'd like to share a little bit about my day. Intentions create boundaries. Bless that siren. Intentions create boundaries that help people understand what they're there to experience, and they make people feel safe. Intentions are very gentle boundaries for you. And remember, boundaries aren't just for you, they're for other people too. Maybe you feel like, well, I don't need a boundary. Other people need a boundary to feel safe. They need to know why they're there, what's going to happen, and that you are holding it. Because then they can relax and trust and soften, right? If you thought I didn't really know what tonight's class was going to be about, and I didn't have any notes, and we didn't know where we were going, you might not feel as safe. But you know that I've got it all kind of in hand. I know where we're going. I know what we're going to cover. I know how I'm going to go about it. And so you're just like putting your feet up, and we're taking notes for you. Like, my intention for the container is allowing you to feel safe and learn and enjoy the process and the experience. And that's your responsibility as a priestess. Okay. So that is set and setting. Thresholding is the other part. There's 3 parts to preparation for a high priestess. Set, which is your mindset. Setting, which is where are we, what are we doing, and what does it look like, how does it feel? And then the third piece is thresholding. This, to me, is so important. And again, these are things I never hear people talk about. I still take priestessing classes sometimes just to see what other people teach. I still have my own teachers. I still don't hear people talking about this, which is thresholding. Thresholding is how you enter and exit sacred space. Thresholding is how you enter and exit sacred space. It's how you enter and exit relationships. It's how you enter and exit a classroom. It's how you enter and exit a circle. It's how you enter and exit a year. Every time you move into a new space, a new year, a new decade, a new classroom, a new relationship, a new whatever, you are crossing a threshold. And as a priestess, you need to know how you're entering and how you're also going to exit. If you start something, you gotta finish it. I'm already thinking about your initiation, and tonight's our first class. Because as a priestess, it's my responsibility not just to get you into this, but also to get you out of this. And I have to hold both of those edges. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a great question. So Morgan said, if our intention is just to have a great conversation with someone, do we have to tell them? You don't have to, of course, right? But at the same time, if you start to articulate your intentions with people, you will notice them feeling more comfortable. People want to know what's expected of them and what you visualize doing with them in the time that you have. It makes them feel, again, safe. It makes them feel cared for, and you're going to start to have this expectation building around you as you take on this mantle. So I have people now all the time who will say to me, so what are we doing? And sometimes I'm like, I'm not priestessing right now. Give me a break. Like, I'm not, because they'll look at me like, okay, well, what are we doing? What do I need? What's happening here? And it's just like, we're just hanging out. Like, I'm not priestessing you right now. And then people will be like, aw, I thought you were priestessing me right now. It's like, no, I'm on vacation right now or whatever, right? So you'll find that people start to have these expectations of you. And I think it's good for you just to think about it that way. You know what I mean? And even if you have company in town, my intention is that you're going to really enjoy this trip. And I have, designed some meals and some excursions or things that we're going to do together to help you feel more connected. Or, when I have company in town, if I take them somewhere special that's special to me, I'll say, like, my intention is for you to understand more about me and my roots and like what this space means to me or what this thing means to me. And I'm excited to share it with you because, you know what I mean? You don't have to be so blunt about it, but you can still create containers and experiences for people. And the more you articulate about that, you're going to find people feel safer with you because they know what's going on. They know what you have in mind and they know what to bring to the table. Does that make sense? Okay. That's the main thing I wanted to tell you about that. Okay. Only you know what threshold you're crossing at any particular time. New relationship. I always think of intimate relationships. The first time you're intimate with someone is the ultimate threshold, right? The first time you say, I love you to someone. And these are all thresholds, right? When you bring a new child onto this beautiful earth, or when you say goodbye to a loved one for the last time. These are thresholds that we all cross as human beings. Making the mundane magical is your job as a priestess. And the other thing I will tell you is the priestess is usually the first one into a sacred space and the last one out. She's usually the first one to arrive for ceremony, for ritual, for class, for whatever, and she's usually the last one out because she's like blowing out the candles, sealing the directions, releasing the guardians, thanking the guardians of the space, thanking the spirits. I mean, it's your job to be the first one in and the last one out, in my personal opinion as a priestess. Any questions about that? I try to do that. I'm not always perfect. I mean, sometimes I forget, but I will tell you, by and large, everything I'm telling you is second nature for me now. I don't have to script it. I don't have to remind myself, but that's also, it's a decade almost of doing this virtually. And I was holding ceremonies and circles for people in my waking life for many years before I ever started Sage Goddess. My group was called The Muse. And it kind of traveled from LA to San Diego. I had full moon ceremony in my house every month when I was pregnant, when my kids were babies, before I was pregnant. So I've been doing this with people in a lot of different ways for a very long time. So it becomes intuitive. But until it becomes intuitive, it's kind of good to be deliberate and kind of articulate about it, if that makes sense. I'm so glad you're able to comment now. Thank you for that, Colin. I'm glad to have you here. Yeah, the two forms of sorry, let me go back to that, Cindy. Redefine the two forms of the long-term mindset. Let me go back to my well, the long-term set is really about the immediate set is event-based. It's what's happening right now, Cindy. The long-term set is your mental state more broadly. Okay, so the immediate set is usually more important for priestesses because they have to think, am I grounded? Have I surrendered? Am I curious? And do I have an intention? The long-term set, I don't remember defining two specific issues for you. There's the ethics and the responsibility of it, and then there's your attitude toward the work that you're doing and your energetic state. So that's like sort of the long range or long tail aspects of set. How do you feel about what you're doing? And so that is your attitude and then your energetic state. And that can be the result of illness or low energy for whatever reason, or cycles changing. Like that's why I mentioned menopause, or what kind of cyclical stage you're in as a woman, for example, could impact your long-term set. But your short-term set is really more about the four things I identified. So grounding, surrendering, staying curious, and then setting your intention. You're going to get everything. So all the invocations that I read to you tonight, everything I've said, you'll get in your notes. The invocation, all of the invocations to your elements. So when I was initiating you, you'll get all of that in your notes. So you don't have to worry about anything tonight. It's all coming to you. I'm just reading your comments. Yeah, so thresholding is literally just how you enter and how you leave. And what I've noticed as a priestess is people really pay attention to how I enter a room and how I leave it. And so be intentional about it, is what I would say. Okay. I'm going to keep going if that's okay. I know we're over time, but I still have a little bit more I want to go through with you, and so I'm going to keep going through my notes. Well, Ms. Lucky has a great question. She said, we have off days. What if we feel really off? Surrender and be curious? Yes. The number one thing to remember in regards to feeling off, honestly, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, because we're talking real deal priestessing. Like I said, I'm not here. Sometimes I see people teaching priestessing and they've got like wings and stuff, and it seems like weird BS. This is real deal stuff. The reality is, if you feel too off, then maybe you don't do ceremony, okay? If you can't stop crying, if your anxiety is just immobilizing, I've never not done ceremony because I felt off. Because what I've learned is this: ceremony gets me back on. Ceremony gets me back on. I'm just looking at your comments. If I'm feeling not quite well, you know what I mean? If I've got a little bit of a cold, magically I feel great by the end of a ceremony. If I feel a little bit anxious, like nervous, magically I feel calm by the end of the ceremony. Sometimes you get butterflies, and sometimes sometimes you feel like your timing is a little bit off. Do you know what I mean? But it's not. You have to learn to trust the process. And so I've never not done ceremony, even if Paulette remembers, I have had moments where I cried. Came in crying, cried in the middle. I mean, again, if you're really priestessing, if you're not putting on a stupid show for people, sometimes you're going to cry, and sometimes you're going to be mad, and sometimes you're going to be confused. And if people are following you and they appreciate your authenticity, that's going to bring them closer to you. That's not going to push them away, because if you cry, now they have permission to cry. If you get angry about some kind of injustice, now they have permission to be angry about some kind of injustice. Sometimes you give people permission by being authentic and saying, you know what, I'm sad about this, or I'm mad about this, or you know what I mean? And sometimes it's nice and also can be very functional to let people hold you a little bit. You're a priestess, you're not a god. You know what I mean? You're human. You're channeling this force through you, but you're still very human. You're flawed, you're imperfect, you have shitty days, you doubt yourself, you question what you're doing, and yet, you know what I mean? And yet you show up. You show up because you're a leader. You show up because you're committed. You show up because you believe. You show up because those people matter to you. You matter to me. It would take hell and high water to keep me from being here in our class tonight. Because right now, you guys and this are the most important thing in my world tonight. And so no matter what's going on, and that's priestessing. Priestessing is saying everything isn't perfect, but guess what? Life isn't perfect, but we are here to have this experience together, and now we're going to shift that experience. We're going to flip that script. And we're going to take it from sad to glad. You know what I mean? And you can do that in ceremony, and that's part of the beauty of it. And that's right. Leadership is making a commitment and sticking with it. There have been plenty of times when being Sage Goddess or owning this company has been so hard, I have thought, I can't do this. What I do may look kind of simple. I mean, it probably does. It's really not very simple, and it's very hard, and it's like trying to herd a billion cats. But I love it, and it's what I do, and I've made a commitment to it, and here I am, and I'm going to keep doing it with as much grace as I can muster, right? Right? And Alexis, just so you know, I know it's 6:00, so if you need to go, that's fine. I'm good here with my peeps. So if you want to sign off for the evening, I totally appreciate you. But I'm going to continue for another 15 minutes or so before we finish. You make a commitment and you keep on going. Oh, you can. You can see my little toots. Look at that. You see my little barefoot here? I don't want to distract you, but my foot is right there. It's weird, isn't it? That's my toesies right there. You do the thing. Tapping would be a whole other conversation. We can talk about it though. Oh, I love you, Alexis. I really do. And I don't expect that you would. So really, I love you and thank you. Okay, I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about Angela Fos and your symbol for this month. And then I'm going to have us blend our perfume, and then we are complete. I want to give thanks for our tools this month. I'm not going to be able to show them all to you because of the way my altar is set up, but I want to give thanks for our beautiful herbs this month, which are vervain and wormwood, and then we have our Olympia herb mix for our crafting at the end of the month. We're making a Olympia blend, so you have your Olympia essence, essential oil if you have your tools. And then I want to give thanks for, in the south, for our beautiful lantern, which was custom made for us. Isn't it gorgeous? So that is here for you. And that is, it's 5-sided, which is within a triangle. So it's the Trinity plus 5, which is prosperity. So that lantern is going to be a good tool for you all the way through the rest of the season. I want to give thanks to our beautiful essential oils. They're two of my favorites. It's guaiac wood, and then you have amorous with evening primrose. When we make our perfume tonight, you're going to lose your mind. It is such an emergence blend. The essential oils so align with all the work that we're doing this month. Yeah, and the oils this month are twice the cost of the usual essential oils. So what we tried to do with the mesas this year is give you better quality items, a little bit of an upgrade, like your amulet. I want to give thanks for our amulet, which is black sterling silver with 24 karat gold and white topaz. So this was an upgrade too. I want to give thanks for, did I cover all of our tools, our oils, our herbs? I want to give thanks for our, which stone came with our generator, which was custom made for us with our emergence symbol on the top, which is looks like an hourglass. And I want to, so I'm going to tell you about Angela Fos right now. So I want to give thanks for all of our tools and our beautiful mat, and then our Crystal Masters tools for tomorrow, which includes so many fun things I'm going to teach you about, including these little activator pieces that I had custom made for us. I'm so excited to teach you tomorrow. So all of those tools are our tools for this month, and I want to give thanks. We've got our chipstones for our Olympia blend as well. Did I cover all of our bases? Okay. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, so I wanted to do a different kind of generator. So at the end of the year, I will have a thing for you to place all 12 of your pillars in that lights up. and I'm working on it because I want you to have like almost like a mothership. But I want it to be something that you can travel with. So if you ever go and do really heavy duty priestessing work, you can bring this lighted grid, place your 12 pillars, and then you'll be surrounded by the Angela Fos. So let me explain what the Angela Fos are as quickly and concisely as I can, okay? And yeah, and thank you, by the way, also to Gabriel and his beautiful art on that mat. Didn't he do a lovely job? So yeah, so anyway, hang on to your pillars. They are all clear quartz, but each month will have a different symbol, and that's because it's the highest vibrational material. So you're gonna have 12 quartz pillars. It's gonna be a crazy thing. I think I'm incorporating Metatron's cube into the design. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm glad you're excited about it. Okay. The Angela Fos. Gosh, how quickly can I tell you this? In ayahuasca in October, I channeled these 12 symbols known as, it's actually technically 13 symbols, which is the Angela Fos. And ayahuasca gave me that name. It's a Greek word, and it means light of God. So Fos is light, like photo, right? And Angelo or Angelo is angels. So this is the light of angels, the light of God. My grandmother's name was Fo Tini, which means light of God. So, and she came to me during that journey. So I thought it was really beautiful that this Fos, and it's F-O. It's Angela Fos, F-O-S. The symbols are meant to be worked with and woven into your practice. And so one thing I want you to think about is, just like Reiki symbols, you can trace them into the air, okay? One continuous line. You can trace them on your skin. You can draw them on your notes. You should take your perfume and anoint on your body in the shape of the symbol. Be sure to wear your amulet. You can also trace these symbols onto clients or over clients. So if someone is trying to shift and grow and they're like, I don't know how to begin, then you would trace the emergence symbol, just like you work with your Reiki symbols too. Okay? Team SG will check for you. Some people are saying that they don't have chip stones, so Alexis, if you can look into that for me, I would appreciate it. They're here on my mat, so let us know, please. Okay. I would like you to bring your forehead. I know it might sound weird. Later it won't. I would like you to bring your forehead to the camera because I would like to activate the emergence symbol by tracing it on your third eye. So if you would take a moment and come to the camera, I am going to trace the symbol for you. And I'm going to begin in the north. Are you ready? Come closer, come closer. We'll figure out your chipstone situation, but just stay with me now and come closer so I can activate the symbol for you, okay? So we're going to start in the north, and I'm going to trace down, across, up, and across. Let me do that one more time over your third eye so I stay on the camera. My hand is like it's on fire. Can you feel that through your third eye? Thank you for letting us know, Janet. Okay, so chipstones wasn't on the kit list, so you may have to BYO chipstones. Thank you for letting us know that, though. I appreciate it. Sorry for telling you. They were on my mesa, so I didn't know. Okay. The emergence symbol is designed to represent all of the symbols. It was really amazing in that journey. Ayahuasca showed me how the symbols morph out of each other. So they literally build on each other. This emergence symbol, like I said, if you're having trouble getting started, you don't know where to begin, you don't know how to begin, just trace the symbol. If someone says to you, I really want to change, but I don't know how to change, or I don't know, trace the symbol. You'll learn to embody it. You can actually also trace the symbol under you when you're sitting, or you can actually trace the symbol to be a container for your entire ceremony. So when you walk into a room, you can trace the entire thing, when you enter a room, just like you do with your Reiki symbols, right? Usually we trace the Reiki symbols with our middle finger. When you enter a room, right? That's your thresholding symbol. So work with the symbols that way. You can tattoo the symbol. I'm going to make flash tattoos as soon as we can. We're just a little backed up on design right now, but as soon as we can, we're going to make flash tattoos for you too. Okay. We work with symbols just like Reiki symbols, these Angela Fos symbols. Think of Angela Fos as a Reiki 4. I'm attuning you to each symbol one by one. At the end of December, you're going to get a certificate that you've been attuned to the entire 12 symbol series. And then you can, if you're a Reiki practitioner, you can market that you've been attuned to this additional system that you can introduce your clients to. It's sort of an add-on to your own services. Does that make sense? It's very much, thank you for that, Trenton. It's very much a symbol for if you're feeling stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. I'm trying to change. I don't know how to help my partner. I don't know how, it's just like if you don't know, that is your symbol. And now you feel like you have a tool, right? And so when you look at your pillar there, it's a reminder to you that you know where to begin and that the universe is always guiding you. Is your guaiac wood solid? Mine is liquid. If it went solid on you, put it in your boobs. Do you know that trick? Get it in your pants. It'll soften right up. Oh, I love that. I'm glad that you guys are excited about that too. And just once a day. Just trace it on your wrists. Just once a day before you go out the door. It's such an easy symbol, and now you're covered, right? Trace it on the palms of your hands. Okay. So let me tell you quickly about your oils. I want to make our perfume so that we have it for our journey on Saturday, and that will complete our work for tonight. Did you enjoy that? Yeah, in your notes, everything will be in your notes. How to draw it will be in your notes. I love my team, and I love that they take notes for you. I would have given anything, looking back through all my priestessing materials, because my priestessing materials are in a 3-ring binder like this from back in the day. Nobody was taking notes for me. I would have given anything for notes. So that's one of the things I'm really proud of that we do for you guys, because I think it makes a huge difference. I want you to focus. As a teacher, I know that if you're writing, you can't listen. So I never want my students writing. I always want them listening. Okay, I'm going to tell you 2 of the essential oils, the guaiac wood and the amyris, are actually oils that sometimes are used to blend together to create what they will call an oud accord. In cases where people can't afford agar wood or oud, because oud is so expensive, they will combine amyris and guaiac wood. Take those 2 together, baby, and you'll be amazed how much it smells like oud. So I've kind of given you a little bit of an oud hack. If you were to add some Styrax to this, if you happen to have some benzoin Styrax, you would probably get as close as you can get to the scent of agar wood without the cost and without the rarity, but also without the difficulty of accessing it. Okay, so yeah, if your guaiac wood is solid, mine is not, but if yours is because of your climate, just put it in your bra or put it in your pants for a minute. Laura says she's lost. How can I help you, darling? Tell me where you're lost and I will bring you back. Or a Poponax would be nice. I like that. Yeah, the oud incense, my team finally got another batch made. So if you missed the Sacred Oud Incense blend, it is back on Sage Goddess. Don't go now, though. Go later. I want you to stay here. Okay, guaiac wood is an oil of preparation. It purifies the mind, relaxes the mind, and calms the mind. It helps you to feel grounded and in tune with yourself. It is one of the strongest anti-inflammatory oils on the planet. It reduces inflammation throughout the entire body, including the central nervous system and the digestive system. It's used as a fixative in perfume blends. What does that mean for you? If you put guaiac wood in a perfume, you better like it, because you're going to smell it. It's going to be on your clothes. It's going to be everywhere that you put it. So make sure that you only start working with this if you really, really love it, because it's going to be, it's a natural fixative, and so it's going to last you for a really, really, really long time. Okay. So Evening Primrose is your carrier oil, guys. So I'm talking to you about the essential oils right now. So you should have gotten 2 little drams, guaiac wood, and your amyris. I opened my Olympia by accident. Your amyris. And then you should have gotten your Evening Primrose carrier oil. Guaiac wood has been used by Native Americans to cure venereal disease, ironically, because it actually also has an antibacterial property to it too. So it's very healing, but we use it primarily because it's purifying, it's relaxing, it helps you enter sacred space with an open mind. It's very much an oil of set. So if you're trying to work on your mindset going into ceremony, guaiac wood is your go-to. Okay, and then amyris is used, interestingly enough, take a whiff of that. It's used as a substitute for vetiver. I actually like it better than vetiver, and I love vetiver. But if you it depends. Some people like one more than the other. It's actually part of the citrus family. Isn't that interesting? And it takes 30 years for an amyris tree to be mature enough to produce essential oil. And that's why it's so expensive. It's very, very, very expensive because of how long it takes. It helps with skin regeneration. It releases tension. It's considered a rite of passage oil. So this is something that's used traditionally in different healing traditions to mark the point when a woman enters her maiden stage, when she enters the red tent. It's used then. It's also used as a rite of passage for boys when they become men and traditionally go off to fight and become soldiers. It's used to anoint for their safety. It comes from the Greek word amiron, which means intensely scented. And it really, really is. Again, this one is a fixative. It's used in perfumes to make the scent last longer. So don't anoint with this blend unless you really, really, really love it. It's actually, technically it's not a sandalwood, but it's called West Indian sandalwood. It smells like sandalwood, but the family it comes from is Amaryllis balsamifera. It's also known as candlewood, torchwood, Indian sandalwood. It does come from the West Indies, and specifically it comes from Haiti. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, and then, but not to be outdone, I love our carrier oil too. This is Evening Primrose. Evening Primrose is the high priestess in oil form. It's moon magic. It releases toxic emotions. And do you know more than anything what Evening Primrose does? I mean, it's also really good for fine lines and wrinkles. Honestly, a little Evening Primrose. Women start to show their aging right here, and then down here what they call the nasal label folds. And a little bit of Evening Primrose at night will really start to soften and smooth out those fine lines and wrinkles if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s. But what it primarily does, it doesn't smell very much. It's the energy you're looking for, Lorian. What it actually does is it releases feelings of rejection, especially rejection as a child before the age of 10. So if you were unwanted as a baby, or, I mean, I don't know, if you were rejected as a child in any way, Evening Primrose is the only oil that I've ever heard of that really does heal these childhood woundings around feeling unwanted or unneeded or unwelcomed. So this is about healing your heart so that you can enter space from an open, relaxed, softened perspective. Does that make sense? This is everything I've been teaching you tonight. Have your confidence. Enter that room boldly. Use your symbols. Move with confidence. Think about your setting. What's your mental state? Set your intention. All of these things that I've taught you tonight, it all boils down to this perfume. So I want you to take your carrier bottle. Just gently blow your breath in there. And I'm going to do equal parts, because I love them both so much, of my amyris with my guaiac wood. And I'm going to use about 2/3 of each one. I'm going to save a little bit because you don't need them all. You don't need all of it. And especially that guaiac wood is very thick. Like I said, mine is not solid, but if yours is, just warm it up a little bit with your skin. Won't take long. We're giving you the pure thing. If we diluted it, it wouldn't get hard or solid, but I also don't want to dilute it. I want you to have the magic of the real deal, baby. All right. Oh, that is so good. And you can always, if you really are having trouble getting it to melt, add your evening primrose to fill it to the top. If you're having trouble getting it to warm, warm up some water in a mug and just sit your closed vial in the mug of warm water, and it will soften right up for you. It's almost like creating a double boiler. I want a little bit more of that magic in there. Yeah, so just warm up a little mug of water. You can just heat it in the microwave if you want. Keep your vial closed and just sit it in the warm water for 30 seconds and it'll soften right up for you. You don't want to microwave your essential oils, but you can place them in a warm mug of water to soften them up. And then turn 3 times. Yeah, hair dryer, I love that. I love how Nicole, like, that's priestessing right there. She's figuring out other solutions. I love that so much. And then a little bit, oh, it's so good. A little bit at your wrist for what you do, a little bit at your third eye for what you know, and a little bit at your ankles for where you go. And it's also good too, if you just feel called to it, a little bit at your solar plexus, which is 2 fingers above your belly button. To anoint there really just activates your power center. So if it feels good, you can also stick your finger in it and put it into your belly button, which is a good wombing technique. That's still your connection to your mother. And then you can seal your bottle. And when you turn it in the light, you can see the dark and the light blending, because that guaiac wood is very thick and resinous, and that amyris is a little more, you know, they almost don't want to blend together, but they will. They'll soften and they'll blend together. And now that you have the carrier oil, it's not going to seize up on you anymore. Once you've diluted it, you won't have to worry about that happening anymore. And then, so I'm calling mine Enter the Circle. We gave you a label, which looks like this. We printed you a sticker at SG. Is that the right size label for your bottle? I think it is. That might be for your, actually that's for your Olympia. That's for your Olympia. I don't know, did we give them a label for their perfume bottle, Alexis? I think we did. I don't have mine here, but I will label mine later. So mine is called Enter the Circle because that's the energy of that blend. And so if you like that name, you can copycat my name, or you can come up with your own name that you like a little bit better maybe. But my office smells like heaven right now. Is it still solid? Yeah, so you can do your different things. Okay, so you guys have a label, I don't. So I'm gonna label mine later, but you can label yours now. Guaiac wood, by the way, is endangered. And so I just want to reassure you that we have a sustainable source for it. I just like to mention that because it matters to me and I know it matters to you. So sometimes when we work with endangered woods, I do like you to know that yours is coming from a sustainable source. So for your herbs, for me, they're going to be going into my Olympia. It's a great question, Bianca. I'm also going to be burning those herbs before our journey. So I'm going to be teaching you about those herbs and then burning them as incense, particularly the wormwood. Remind me to tell you if I forget on Saturday. You don't want to inhale too much of the wormwood, okay? It will kind of take you to Funky Town. And I want you to be with it during our journey. I don't want you to be laying on the floor. So, you know, don't hot box yourself in with your wormwood. Take it a little bit at a time. The herbs are vervain and wormwood in your individual packets. And these I'm intending to burn and teach you about during our session 3 this Saturday. All right. Let me make sure I've covered everything I wanted to share with you tonight. Well, well, well. And with that, I love how there's a little glitter in the tea light. Did you guys enjoy that too? With that, session 1 of January Soul Shift is complete. We went a little bit over our time, but in the future we won't. I had a lot of groundwork I kind of wanted to set up for you tonight, and we started late because of the technology issues. So typically our classes will go from 4 to 6 p.m. We rarely go over 6 p.m. just to give you a heads up so that you can plan your schedule accordingly. Did you enjoy it? I hope it lived up to expectations. You know, it's always hard when you redo something. You know what I mean? But I will tell you, I went back to the original Pop and I thought I still have so much to offer. You know, I think I've come a long way. The practice has evolved in many ways. And so I hope that tonight was everything that you hoped it would be. And I hope that the experience was really beneficial and helpful for you in so many ways. We covered a lot of territory tonight. Right, Sherry? Sherry says she's not the same person from Pop 1 either. I know. All of you who were there have come so far. And those of you who are newer, you know, maybe weren't here 4.5 years ago, I still see so much transformation in you too. So I can't wait to see where this year will take us. So I want to thank you. I hope that you're excited for tomorrow, which is Crystal Masters. I'm very excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a very different kind of class. Here I've been sitting in my office just in front of the screen. Tomorrow I'm going to be up and around, moving around. Alexis is going to be filming, and Maria will be moderating, so I'll be answering all your questions, and we're going to learn in the moment and also through the process about gridding tomorrow. So I'm excited to show you what we have planned for you too. Aho. Well, thank you so much, you guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I have a giveaway, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to do it in our Facebook group, but I just wanted to let you know. That makes me emotional. At the beginning of Pop, the first time, 4 years ago, I dedicated a sphere to the work that we were doing. And I thought, you know, tonight I would love to do the same thing. And you're welcome to dedicate an amulet or a tool or a sphere of your own to this practice. Of course, we all dedicated our amulets, so we kind of already have something together. I meditated with this sphere earlier today and dedicated it to our practice for the year. It is a sunset sodalite sphere, but it has a wishing ring all the way around it. And so instead of keeping mine this time, I'm going to gift it to one of you. So be sure that you head over to the Facebook group, and then one of you is going to receive this as a gift from my heart to yours, a sphere that I have charged with the work of the year and that I hope will be a very important piece for your collection too. So enjoy. I'm going to go put that into the Facebook group now. I know it's really beautiful. It's dark so you can't see it, but maybe you can see the wishing ring. Do you see that ring all the way around? So this is for someone who's releasing fear, stepping boldly into their soul purpose and pursuing, you know, their gifts with bravery and courage. And I know that that's a lot of you. So make sure you check that out. And if you feel called to it, comment on it. I'll choose and announce the winner tomorrow evening, probably maybe even during Crystal Masters. I'll look forward to that. So thanks, you guys. Love you. Thank you for being here. It was such a pleasure to be with you this evening. I will look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care.